Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 19 of Magicians Without Borders Conversations. My name is Carlos López, and it's so exciting to be here. I can't believe that we've been doing this for 19 episodes, and that it is time to wrap up this crazy year. It's been such a crazy year. It's amazing everything that has happened. And before we go any further, I just wanted to tell you guys that one of the things that we did during the year was actually this store.magicianswithoutborders.com. So if you go to that URL, store.magicianswithoutborders, you can actually go and purchase magic from Magicians Without Borders, which is you can have a show at home, virtual show at home for you, your family, or your friends to celebrate a birthday, or in any corporate events, and also workshops. We do workshops online, and these shows and workshops are with our students. So that's pretty cool. Our students from the slums of Bogota, Colombia, some from Costa Rica and El Salvador, come to this shows and workshops, and it's a way for them to earn an income as well. And of course, you can also purchase our video magic course, Become a Magician. So remember, if you want to learn some magic, you can, or you want to see some shows, you can go to store.magicianswithoutborders.com. Let me just show everyone where you can go. Exactly, you can go here. That's great. You can go to store.magicianswithoutborders and see what we offer. And everybody here that's here, welcome. So I see Jason that's logged in. Hola, Jason, ¿cómo estás? Maria Regina, hi, how are you? And welcome everybody to this final episode of the year. So this has been quite a year, and I want to wrap it up with the one and only Tom Verner. Hey, Tom, how are you?
The one and only. Here we are. Thank God, some people would say.
Thank God there's just one Tom. Tom, we need more people like you in this world.
Well, it's certainly good to be here, and it certainly has been a year. Yeah. I was just on the phone, and I think this will come up in our conversation tonight. Someone I hadn't spoken to in a few months, and we were just talking about how all of us have had to adapt in new ways and do
Yeah.
things we have never done before, or do things we've done before in new ways. And the thing that she also mentioned was, what from this year, what did we learn this year about what's important, or ways to do things in new ways that will carry on even after the pandemic? So that's something maybe we could touch on tonight.
Yeah.
What things did we start doing differently this year? Did we learn that we'll continue doing, even though we don't quote have to? You know.
Yes, I think that's such an important point, because I remember very early in the pandemic, when it started to hit real hard. I saw an article saying that entertainment was not an essential part or an essential job. So entertainers and performers were not considered essential. So they were going to suffer a lot. And I
Yeah,
remember all the angst that produced in all of us.
yeah,
But as the year went on, well, it turned out that it did. It's very important. It's a very important part of society, of culture, and that we needed to adjust. We needed
yeah.
to find new ways of doing what we do. And actually, right now, Jorge Ruiz is from Russia live. So, hola, Jorge. How are you? ¿Cómo está, Jorge?
Hola, Jorge.
Vamos a hablar un poco de Jorge más adelante. We're going to talk about Jorge a little bit further, because this pandemic really, gave us a unique opportunity to do the things that we were used to doing in a very different way. But before that, I just wanted to, what we're going to do today is just go chronologically on the year, what stuff we were doing or we did. And well, I want to start with this. The first thing we did this year was this. We went to South Africa. We were fortunate enough to do our magic service trips, a magic service trip for 2020 in South Africa, in Cape Town. I know we've talked about this a little while, but do you remember where you're at there, Tom? Where were you at?
Yeah, the name of the place is the Green Market. What was it? It was outside of a church in this big marketplace. And
Yeah, Green Market
what
Square.
was it called?
Green Market Square.
Yeah, Green Market Square, right? And there were a whole group of refugees living inside this church, and we happened by, and as we sometimes do, we just started performing for them, and that's what's happening in this picture here.
Yeah, so that trip was amazing. I know we've talked a lot about that trip, but we got to walk on the streets and do magic for an impromptu audience. Do you remember where that was, Tom?
That
What's
was
the name of that?
up in that neighborhood with all those, you can see them
Bocap.
in the back. What was it?
Bocap.
Oh yeah, Camp. It
Bocap.
had these amazingly colorful homes. It was a beautiful neighborhood. Cape Town was just spectacularly beautiful. The
Great.
natural
Great.
beauty as well as the man-made beauty. It's just beautiful. Yeah.
It's just wonderful. And I remember that day that the whole town, and but the neighborhood in particular was getting ready for a parade. Remember?
Oh,
Everyone
that's right.
dressed up and face painting and all of that. It was pretty cool.
I think this is one of my favorite things to do on these trips. Is you're just there on the street and there's maybe 3 or 4 kids and you start doing a little magic for them, and then more people gather and it's just spontaneous. It just happens, and then it's over and everybody goes, and it's like, where did that come from? Did that magician, it's just wonderful. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Such fun, and so impromptu. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But we were there with all of these magicians to do shows, to do social magic over there. So we were joined by guys from UCLA and their magic group called Mist, and that's the magic group from the UCLA University in Los Angeles or in California, and also the Yale Magic Society guys that we started the magic service trips with, and that have been with us all this time, 4 trips now. And of course, you and Janet were there also, and I was there with Laura, who was, I guess, the one that took the picture.
Such a sweet
So
trip. It was great.
yeah, it was wonderful. We got to perform in places like this. So, an open space in a township. I don't remember the name of the township, but I remember it was packed. It was packed. You remember that show?
Yeah, and it was organized. Was he a policeman?
Yes.
Yeah, and he was a policeman who
Yes,
was
well,
one of those really good policemen who is connected to the community, and his house is open to kids who come, and he mentors them and helps them and tries to, make their lives a little better, because life can be very difficult in the townships for
in the
sure.
townships. I agree. And it was a great show, very challenging. We had that sound system, but there were so many people. It was pretty cool, pretty cool. But we also went to some places that needed help. You remember this children's home?
I do remember that show. I don't remember the name of it. I remember we went to one St. Joseph's,
Mhm.
but that was not this one. I don't know what this one.
Yeah, this is another one. This was a children's home that the name escapes me right now. But I remember that the outside of this place, like inside, was very beautiful, but outside it was very, what's the word, that people don't come anymore, and it's like abandoned.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, yeah, it was pretty hard to see. So inside it's pretty beautiful, but outside it was, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it was very challenging to see the reality. But this service trips are about this. The magic service trips are not only about performing in those environments, but this is where right here actually Aiden is showing a rope trick to three of our students in the education chapter in Cape Town.
yeah,
So this is what it's all about. I mean, or for me, I think this is the highest point on the trip, is just having this moment of interaction between the volunteers that travel with us and the local kids of our education chapter.
So for
So
those who may not know, we have 7 groups of children around the world that we're using magic to help them develop self-confidence and discipline and self-esteem, um, and these service trips, as Carlos just said, here's a perfect image of it. Here is one of the guys from UCLA uh, working side by side with one of the students in the chapter in Cape Town, out in a township, and they are developing a magic routine together, which then becomes a show that we do uh, toward the end of the trip. And you'll hear about the show we did at the end of the Cape Town trip. Was very, very special. But this is wonderful that um, magicians from Magicians Without Borders get to work with these young kids and be a mentor for the moment. And it's great. It's wonderful for both of them. Yeah.
yes, I think exactly what you say. I mean, this magic service strips, I think, embodies very much what we want to do with Magicians Without Borders, using magic to create a just world full of possibilities in communities around the world. So I think our volunteers get to experience this. So this is challenging. We are in actually right now, this is Katrina, a professional magician from Los Angeles, who is in a little, kind of a little space that's used as a church in the middle of a township, where the kids get together with our head local magician there, Jacques Lesueur, to learn magic every week. And it was challenging being there. After the whole trip, we were a little bit tired, but we get to spend some times with the kids to do something that they are not used to doing. And what was that? You know, interact with, you know, people that go to Cape Town as tourists. And I think that's very, very interesting for both, for the tourists in Cape Town, but also for the kids in the townships. You know, having this, you know, foreigners go and just, you know, be with them, share with them, and build something together that's going to be challenging for both.
Yeah.
So for the volunteers and for the kids, that show that we were planning is a challenge, because it's, you know, it's going to be a show that's in a theater in front of a live audience, and that's a challenge that we both are gonna you know, hit on as a team together. And I think that's wonderful to
Yeah.
experience.
That's Jacques Lasser there, the
Yeah,
man who's been teaching these kids for this last year and this year. It's been challenging this year, but he's a wonderful man. He's a graduate from the world famous College of Magic in Cape Town, which you'll hear some more about in a moment.
exactly. Well, talking about that, you know, it's funny you mention it, Tom, because even though we created lots of laughter in the kids and their families, I remember that she's the mom of this little kid, and she was kind of skeptical of this whole magic thing. And what do you mean that some, you know, foreigners are gonna come and be with them? What do you mean? Can I come? And we were like, yes, awesome. And you know, she went with us, and she was with us every day that we were training with the kids, and also she came to the show. And I think that's an amazing experience that she had as a family member of one of our students.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. So you were talking about you were talking about the College of Magic. This is David Gore, you know,
Yeah.
the founder and the actual president of the College of Magic, and we got to meet him. And I think this was an iconic moment, because this is where, you know, the two top organizations that do education with magic as a tool for social change got together, right?
Wow.
And they do it in very different ways. You know, the College of Magic does. I mean, their programs are based on a place, and it's very different than Magicians Without Borders. You know, having multiple education chapters all over the world. But it was so wonderful to hear and see what they were doing. Wouldn't you agree, Tom?
Oh, it was such an honor to meet David. I mean, I've heard of and hope someday to go to the College of Magic, and I ended up there. And as you'll hear, we ended up being there in a wonderful way. And to meet David, and he knew about Magicians Without Borders and really loved and respected the work we've been doing these 20 years. And we just have been great admirers of David's work and what he's done at the College of Magic. It's such an extraordinary place. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it
Oh,
looks
there it is. Oh,
there it is. It looks stunning. So we got to visit the place, the College of Magic, and we got, you know, to tour it. It's wonderful. I think I remember walking into it. It's like, you know, like we always have this thing in Colombia. We have a magic school, and that's sort of like this, not that big, but it has that feeling of, you know, of wonder, of amazement. And
yeah.
when our students walk in there, it's like a whole new world opens up, right?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
interesting that you say Richard's School in Bogota has it does. There's something about that when you walk in there, the posters, the old antique magic props in cases, and then the little theater that he has and the teaching space. It's it just feels magical, you know. It's
Yeah,
I mean, this feels like Hogwarts or something. Like when
exactly. It's like a real, you know, magic school. And you know, we were there, and you got to perform at the College of Magic, Tom.
oh
I
my
think
God,
that,
a
you know,
dream
that's
come true. Yeah,
right.
amazing, amazing.
And I think the coolest thing is that we not only got to perform there, but the reason that we were performing there. I think it's, for me, it's the most meaningful, right? We were performing there with the kids that we talked about earlier. These are three of them, performing a piece with Danny, one of our volunteers, and they were in front of a live audience for the first time, that were paying a ticket to a magic show.
And
So,
about 30% of the audience that you see there are the parents and brothers and sisters of these young magic students of ours in Cape Town. And the parents were so proud, and the brothers and sisters, to see their brother up there performing. It was a wonderful moment. And I think it did a lot for the program in South Africa, because the parents and families got to see what these children have been learning, and how poised and dignified and talented they looked up there on stage at this world-class, world-famous College of Magic. It was a great night. It was wonderful.
yes, I agree. I think it's so. I mean, it highlights them so much, and they themselves are in a in a different position, right? That they're usually at. They are in a more powerful position that they usually are, and I think that's pretty interesting. And this is the end of the show. We were all very proud. We've got all the volunteer magicians from all over the world, and we got the little kids there, and it was such a great feeling, having that applause at the end, and I think that show is such a great ending to the magic service trips. I think it's a very cool way to put it all together, because this is one of the last days of our trip. We're tired, we've been traveling, we've been teaching these kids and coming together and building a routine to perform. We're very excited, but we did this as a team together, and I think it's a wonderful experience to have that as part of a trip. That usually when you go on a trip, we just go and do touristy stuff, and that's it. But this is such a wonderful way to end a magic service trip.
Yeah, it was a great one.
Yeah,
and Jacques again in the center. Yeah. Jacques, yep.
And that's Jacques, and we were, reaping the rewards. This was so cool for the kids to see and experience that the hard work, that they had put on for almost a year at that point, was paying off, right? Because this, of course, we charged for the show, and that gets brought back to the program, but it was for the kids, like saying like, wow, like we made this, right? Like as a team, we made this happen, and it's such a great moment to see that being materialized. Yeah. Like it's not just the growth that you experience and all the non-tangible things that this program does and brings, but also, hey, you can generate what you lack the most, which is economic resources. I think it was wonderful. And well, there's a video that one of the volunteers put together, and let's see, we can just get a little piece of that video, because Josh just makes some wonderful videos. Josh it's a wonderful a videographer, Josh Beasley, and this is part of the video of the trip. So here we go.
Call it magic, call it true. Call it magic when I'm with you. And I just got broken into two. Still I call it magic.
Hey, I'm Carlos López with
Magicians Without Borders. We are in St. Joseph's Children's Home, where some kids are burn victims, and we're gonna give them a great time with 15 magicians from all over the world.
Danny and I are about to do our first duo act ever. It's dangerous.
And we just started planning 30 seconds ago, and our show is in 1 minute ago.
Put me into two.
All right, it is day 2 in Cape Town. We had a couple great shows yesterday, as you guys saw, but now we have a free day today. We're supposed to go to Robben Island, but anyways, that we weren't able to get a booking, so now we're going to the beach. Little beach day. Might put the drone up, get some cool pics. So we're excited. Yeah. Danny, what do you think?
So I think that sums up the trip. Performances for children's homes, orphanages, and stuff like that, and then tourist stuff. Going to the beach, getting to know the city. It was an amazing experience. Experience. Anything you want to add to the magic service trips, Tom?
Yeah, they have been all really, really a wonderful combination of performing in places that these magicians would never find themselves in, leper colonies and really difficult, sad places, and then having fun and seeing beautiful things, and then meeting with our students and collaborating and creating a magic show. It's a very rich. I'm so sad we're not going somewhere this year, but God willing, inshallah, as they say in Arabic, God willing, we'll go next year. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm just putting here in the comments, if you want to know more about our magic service trips, go here. So I'll just put a link up in the comments. I will of course leave it in the show notes. That you can join us when we go on our next trip. We don't know when that's going to be, but the world throws us some curveballs, so we'll try to deal with them. Like this one.
2020 was a curveball, that's for sure.
Yeah, 2020 was a curveball. We can see what 2021 is going to throw at us.
We better move along here. We're only on January 20th.
I know. I'm spending a lot of time in January because that was the coolest thing that we did, and then the pandemic hit. But we definitely did some other stuff. This is Alejandro Muniz. He's a very, very well known magician and mentalist in Latin America. He is from Uruguay but lives in Brazil, and he started a Magicians Without Borders, so Mágicos Sem Fronteiras, the second chapter that we have in Brazil, in a place called Campinas. So Campinas, that's to the north of Sao Paulo, about 100 kilometers north of Sao Paulo. And he got started. He got together with an organization that's called Maria Rosa, and they started working. As soon as they started working, then pandemic hit. So that it's a very vulnerable community. So they had to close up, lockdown, and that program is now on standby. We have not been able to get back there safely, and we're working on ways to do that because we don't know when that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
but that's something that's pretty cool because Alejandro, he's been a teacher of magic for a lot of years and a performer. He's won Flasoma. So Flasoma is like the Latin American version of FISM. He has gone and participated and competed in FISM, in mentalism. His act is just wonderful. That's something that started and threw us a curveball the year, but we were able to do some performances. So Tom, tell us about this ones. Where are you at?
So this is in Juarez, Mexico, and it's the third trip we took down there from the middle of February. We were there for 2 weeks, performing in shelters for asylum seekers, and we did 12 shows for about 2,000 asylum seekers. This is on the other side of the river. This is in El Paso, an amazing mural that Janet and I are standing in front of. And it was a very powerful trip. And this was a sign that in some ways embodies what Magicians Without Borders is trying to do, to build bridges, not walls or borders. This is the river, the Rio Grande, not so grand right here. And this is on the bridge that connects El Paso and Juarez. And thousands of people go back and forth. This was a wonderful little church, Oscar Romero church, and a shelter for poor people. And they had a church service. And then after the service, the priest invited us to do a performance inside the church. It was a wonderful, wonderful day. And these are at different places, orphanages. This is in a shelter. The one on the left is a shelter. The one on the right was actually a little library that the people who were putting us up and giving us a place to stay asked us if we would perform in that library. So there's the library on the left, and then that's a shelter. You can see all the bunks, because some nights they might have 50 people. The next night they might have 150 people. So they have to be ready with that's all bunks stacked up in the back. And we did shows there, a number of shows in El Paso, as well as the 12 shows we did over in Juarez. So,
yeah, and I think that performing in that ambiance, in that place where it's in between borders, or in a border, right? With that much uncertainty of what's going to happen, and the complicated regulations of migrants or for migrants, it's very unsettling.
yeah.
And of course the news that you hear and what you can see about the way that they're handling the situation, it's just so unnerving to know that this is happening, right? That this is happening, and that they don't have access to entertainment. So
No.
I think it's very, very important.
The shelter there, the shelter there on the right, where I'm performing for those children, is a place called Nazareth House. It's started by a marvelous man who has a number of shelters in El Paso and also over in Juarez. His name is Ruben Garcia. And we were doing a show in this place, and this nun, this sister, came down the hall and into the room where we were performing. And she said, "The shelter is filled with laughter." It's the first time since I've been here that the shelter is filled with laughter. I wondered what was going on. And she saw us doing magic. And it was beautiful to fill that place with laughter instead of sadness.
Awesome. That's awesome. So we actually, or you actually got to do that right before the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And while you were doing that in Bogota, in Colombia, there was a film crew doing a documentary or doing a short a short film that was supposed to air in theaters about the magic in Colombia. And one of our kids, Kevin Sea, is right there. He's being highlighted on that little short documentary, and it's wonderful. But we have not been able to see it because it's meant for theaters, right? So in Colombia, there's a law that's pretty interesting that all the theaters have to put on before the main movie. They have to put on a local short.
Oh,
So there's a lot of local shorts, and that's a very great way for filmmakers to get their work out. And this is one of them. And it was beautifully produced and filmed. And Kevin's part of it, who is one of our students here in Colombia, and we have not been able to see it because
Wow.
2020 curveball.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that also happened while you were in Juarez
Yeah.
in Mexico. But this also happened. This happened in June. This is there's a wonderful organization called Mexicana, which is the most wonderful foundation that supports magic worldwide, and they have this awards, and they awarded our head local magician from Costa Rica, Diego Vargas, the International Rising Star prize, right? So they recognize young magicians from all around the world, and they give them this award. It comes with a prize, a money prize, and of course the prestige of it. Mexicana has highlighted in the past people like Jorge Blas, like Penn and Teller, like Juan Tamariz, and we're so honored that we get to have someone from our staff being highlighted as the International Rising Star of 2020. I think that's a wonderful statement to the work that Diego Vargas is putting. They talk in that award of his wonderful stage work, his wonderful corporate work, and of course the work that he does with Magicians Without Borders as well. So that's something that's just so wonderful to have.
Diego heard about Magicians Without Borders, and we exchanged some emails. And I was in El Salvador. This must have been, I don't know, I don't know how many years ago, 6 or 8 years ago. And he took a 20-hour bus ride from Costa Rica to Santa Ana, El Salvador, and we spent a couple of days. And he took a 20-hour bus ride back just to connect with Magicians Without Borders. So he's a wonderful, wonderful young man. Terrific.
Definitely. And then we all started doing this, Tom. We all started trying to figure out how to adapt and do things with magic online, right? On different platforms. And I have to say that to feel the change and to see it happening and becoming every time a little bit more and more good for us and the audience, it was wonderful to see. So this is, for example, one of the kids in the slums of Bogota. He is actually doing a performance, and you can see on the background that he has like a little curtain, right? That curtain, the white curtain, is hiding the bricks of his house.
Yeah.
So because their houses, they don't have the finish nor paint, but we wanted to have it something that's different than the bricks. So he tried to hang a curtain. But the cool thing is that this is being watched by some people in San Francisco. So the guy that sent me the picture is a guy that works at a place called Coursera, who actually hired the show from us. And this is pretty cool to see the kids, see that they can perform from their houses for people outside Colombia in this case, or outside of their neighborhood, country, city. And it was wonderful to see this happen. Then we started doing it for birthday parties. We started doing it for more people. We started to do workshops, and it was very hard to adapt. It was very hard to adapt because I think magicians start, or our experience was we started doing the same thing that we did for the live show. We started doing it for the virtual show. We'll just say, hey, we'll do it for the camera, and that's it. But as we know, magic for camera work is different than live shows. And then virtual shows, they need something else. So we started, learning and learning, and through repetition and getting hired a lot, we kept getting better and kept getting better. And we're going to touch about this a little bit further down, but it was a challenge. It was a challenge, and I know it was very challenging for you, Tom, as well, being
boy, yeah.
Stuck in Vermont. So actually, they did a little video about your experience. So tell us a little bit more about that.
There's the largest newspaper in Vermont. It's called 7 Days. And they have a woman, a videographer who works for them, and she does a little video, a little 5 or so 7-minute video every week that is on their website. And she found out about us and Magicians Without Borders, and her piece is called Stuck in Vermont. She's interviews and films people and tells the story of people who are in Vermont. And during COVID, Stuck in Vermont took on another meaning also, because when we came back from Juarez, we didn't travel again, and we usually travel 6 months during the year, and we traveled only 4 weeks. 2 in South Africa and 2 in Mexico. Anyhow, here is a little piece she put together, and I can set it up a tiny bit. One of the people you're going to see in here is a student of mine, and he and I have been studying magic together for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years, and he has lots of learning difficulties in school. And magic has just improved his social skills and his ability to interact with people and be a better student. And that's part of what's going on in this little video that doesn't get talked about directly. But you'll see him when he stands up. It begins with his little brother. This is his little brother and his sister that you see. Okay, so maybe we can just do it because we're running out of time here.
Here's the video.
Lift your fingers up, straight up. Isn't that amazing?
Abracadabra.
We're here in Lincoln at the home of Tom and Janet. Tom's a magician and Janet is a mime. They have performed all over the world with their organization, Magicians Without Borders.
Magic is a universal language.
Due to COVID, Tom and Janet have become truly stuck in Vermont. But today we're going to see a magic show with them and a family from Addison.
We've traveled to 45 countries, performing mainly for refugee and orphan kids. And the mission is to use magic to entertain, educate, and empower forgotten kids. No.
The only reason I like showing other people magic is to actually make them happy.
With some help from Tom, young Ezra is learning how to become a magician.
What? What?
In learning magic, it really develops your concentration and your memory and your feeling of
Confidence.
self-worth.
The very first time I met Tom was on New Year's Eve, December 31st. He was doing a magic show, and I was his assistant.
And I asked him if he would come up and help me. And he was just terrific. He was all quirky and sort of funny, and the audience loved him. I loved him.
And Ezra was completely confident, and he almost took on this whole new persona. And he and Tom had this incredible back and forth going on upstage that I had never seen Ezra like that before.
It started out all blank.
He just really developed with the magic. And he still struggles a lot, but he has come out of himself and
Don't break it.
Fun to see him perform, because before we used to just watch other people do it, and now Ezra puts on little shows for us and
Put on a magic show for my great-grandfather. I've done birthday parties for a lot of birthday parties.
An excellent way to make friends and kind of an icebreaker on the playground, if you will, for a kiddo who might not be as socially confident as others. And he's learning that he can approach a group of kids that otherwise he might not know how and say, hey, you want to see a magic trick?
Houdini once said that when I perform for people in difficult circumstances, my magic not only amazes and amuses, but it can awaken hope that the impossible is possible. We perform for people who don't have homes, usually, refugees and orphans. And we have such a beautiful home in Vermont, here in the mountains. And it somehow felt like a way of sharing our home.
This must be the Harry Houdini escaping rubber band. Okay, now let me teach you this.
So we have a group now of kids in Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, El Salvador, South Africa, and 2 groups in India.
So we've been teaching them magic. Sorry, Isaac. I realized how much laughter is healing. That gave me permission to go and do my silliness. We encourage young people that we talk to, find out what you love doing and go out and do it to help people.
We believe firmly in connection, and I think that that's something that probably Janet and Tom also believe in, is making connections with other people. And to be able to do that through magic is not something that I ever would have thought of on my own.
You can have the one.
All of our shows got canceled. We had 30 shows and we couldn't travel. So we were at home like everybody else.
Well, our options are pretty limited right now, especially being the parent of young elementary aged kids.
And Janet and I created a magic course called Become a Magician. A parent or a grandparent and a child could create a magic show and do it at Christmas time. 1, 2,
3.
Beautiful, fantastic. All right.
So your brother is a magician, I hear. Tell me about
I'm also a magician.
You're a magician too. So you're a family of magicians.
And it does become a family experience.
Your number was 7.
The holidays are going to be a little bit funny this year, so maybe a little magic is what we all need. And we will get stuck in Vermont with you again real soon.
Okay, and everybody give me a big ta-da! Lots of movement and color.
Ta-da! Bubbles started!
That was so cool, Tom. That was so cool, Tom.
What a great job she did. Yeah.
She did a wonderful job. She did a wonderful job. And, this is the work, the result of that, of being stuck in Vermont is, learn.magicianswithoutborders.com, that Become a Magician course. Because you were hard at work trying to come up with a way to show other people how to learn magic and to really learn magic. Not just you were not interested in just telling them how the trick is done, and learn the secret, but to really show them how to become a magician. And I think that's why this is a unique work, a unique way that you're showing people how to become a magician. It's a wonderful
Yeah.
course. I am highlighting right now. You can see it. It's got you can have it for $65.99, so it's very very convenient, and it has 13 learning sessions. It has an introduction and a whole magic show, so you can actually learn at your own pace. This is a self-paced course, and you can go through all the sessions. Each session has a performance video of how the trick looks, and then an explanation video on the secret and the performance of it. Not just the secret, but how to perform it. And this is wonderful. People have been, purchasing this as gifts for their relatives, for their children, for their nephews, nieces. So it's a great, great way to get started in magic and to really start, becoming a magician. So I think
I
that Tom
know,
did a wonderful job.
up here in the northern hemisphere, we have winter going on, and would be a wonderful thing to do during January, February, March, when we're inside because of the cold and the snow and everything. And as Carlos said, it doesn't just teach tricks, but it teaches acting skills, storytelling skills, performance skills, how to really become a magician. So I'd encourage anybody who might want to do this, or might have a relative, a kid, a grandchild, whoever. Anyhow, we had fun doing it, and we're going to start working on volume 2 pretty soon. Okay.
And that's exactly. I think that's great that you've created a wonderful, wonderful program, and I think that it's very, very it's not simple, but it's not extremely difficult. So I think it's right there in the middle, that it's very rich, and it's actually, if you do it, you can put on a 30-minute magic show yourself. So I think that's very great.
Also, it was created during the quarantine when people really were not going out of their houses, except only to go to the drugstore or the grocery store. So all the props you need, you can probably already have at home, or you can get in a local drugstore for less than $5. It uses cards, coins, pencils, rubber bands, paper clips, paper, pencil, those kind of things. So you don't have to spend money on props.
That's wonderful. Yeah, you get the props at home. You already have them. So give this a try, and you'll be helping our program continue to develop and making changes in our work. So another thing that you wanted to talk about is that during quarantine we created this, what we're in the middle of, this conversation. We created it as an experiment, trying to come up with a different way to engage with people that are interested in work. We want to learn more from you guys. What would you guys want us to be talking about? What do you think will be cool subjects to touch on these conversations? We have had some guests that we didn't know before we brought them on. Some guests that are longtime friends of the program, or staff from our education chapters. I think it's been a wonderful experience. What is your take on this, Tom? This crazy thing that we get to talk online live every week.
Yeah, it's been almost half the year. I think we've been going for 5 months, doing this every Wednesday night, and it was an opportunity for me to review a lot about the wonderful people who have, been associated with Magicians Without Borders. We have a man who's our greatest supporter in India, Dhananjay Mehta, and he puts people up that come to India with Magicians Without Borders. And he said to me once, he said, everybody you bring here is such a wonderful person. And we got to spend an evening with many of those people over this year. And it's been really wonderful for me. And then we met new people that I have never met. Tommy, a few weeks ago, was just an amazing person who I will, when the pandemic allows me to travel to New York, I will definitely connect with him. And I want to thank you, Carlos, for being inspired to do this. And it's going to eventually contain the whole history of Magicians Without Borders. It's pretty fantastic.
I think that's what gets me the most excited, is that you've got some wonderful stories. We got some wonderful stories, and we have them, but we have not been able to share them. And this is another way that we can share them, and not only share them, but it gets archived, and we have those stories there for well, in this social networks and the internets, and it's not gonna get lost. So I think that's wonderful. I think that was one of the highlights for me also, was trying to develop this. And we're learning, we if you see the first ones, our audio is not the best, the connection issues, the music issues, everything, we've been learning. So we definitely appreciate you guys sticking with us, and having the patience to be with us. And it's been great, and we hope that we continue to do this and bring on all the other people that we want to have, because we definitely have more people to invite.
And what Carlos said, if you have ideas for topics that we could examine, or people we could invite who you feel really connect with Magicians Without Borders or are doing similar work. We've had a number of people, Magic Aid, for instance, who have trained doctors and and medical students to do magic in hospitals for very sick children. Anybody who is using magic in these kind of ways, we would love to have them on here and highlight them and learn from them and share our mutual experiences. So whatever, I think we're gonna go into 2021 being changed by this past year, this historic, difficult, demanding, creative, reinventing kind of year. And who knows what shape these conversations might take in the future. So thank you, Carlos, and everybody out there, and you, Carlos and Lara, have a most wonderful happy new year. May it be healthy and happy and creative, and all the blessings may everyone out there have.
Yes, we definitely wish everybody the best year's end, and what will come next. We'll see how we can adapt. Like this story, I want to end with this sequence of stuff that we did in the year, because as I told you before, we started doing virtual shows, but I think this one was the biggest, because one of our goals for this year was that we were going to go to New York, and we were going to do that we have been doing for the past since 2016. In 2016 we took a group of kids to New York from Colombia. In 2018 we took one student. So in 2020 we wanted to take students from two countries, from Costa Rica and from Colombia. And this happened, and we couldn't. And where do we take him? We take him to New York to a conference called Performing the World, which is a wonderful conference that brings people together on performance that has a social impact. And it's a wonderful conference. There's usually around 400 people from around 30 countries. And it's in a wonderful place in 42nd Street, really close to Times Square. It's wonderful. And this year, of course, we were not going to be able to do it. So they decided to do a show online. So the conference online, an online conference. And we were able to participate in that one, but in a wonderful way, because we were not only sharing our story, but our students got to perform. It was the first time that we got performances from 3 countries at the same time. So in that conference, we had Mario, the teacher from El Salvador, with Kimberly, one of his students. We also had Diego from Costa Rica, the teacher, with one of his students, Abraham. And we had from Colombia, Tamara, the teacher, with one of her students, Haider. And they did a wonderful job. They had to adapt their shows to do them in virtual ways. They had, we had rehearsed. We came up with different ways of sharing magic. It was wonderful. They did a great job. The session was for over 85 people from lots of places, mostly the United States, but they were people from over 20 countries. It was wonderful. And they got to share magic. They got to share their experiences. They're at home. They're in the corner of their house with the data plans that our donors helped us get, so that they could get connected to the internet. And they did, place magic from places like that one. Abraham is in Tirraces, Curridabat in Costa Rica, so a slum near San Jose in Costa Rica. And this is Kimberly from Aguachapan in El Salvador, a small town to the north of Santa Ana. Is about 2.5 hours away from San Salvador, the capital. And it was wonderful. And they got to perform alongside their teachers. So this is Mario doing a bottles performance from Aguachapan also. And you can see the reaction from the audience. They were having a great time. And this is Diego from Costa Rica. I think this was once in a lifetime opportunity and experience to have all of our teachers together with their students in an international stage. But that international stage, was online. And this pandemic, turning everything online, we tried to do also our social work online. And I think that was one of the most challenging aspects, is how do we continue to do our social work online? So we started trying things. We tried a bunch of different utility softwares and stuff that we can use. And we ended up using a Google Meet, which was very fortunate because, it helped us connect people from all over the world to be our volunteer teachers in our classes. So our weekly classes, we put them together. And we had people like Katrina, who joined us in the volunteer trip in January. She also hold a class for her kids. So in the class, you can see there's people that is joining from their houses, but also people that joined us in the physical place where we started going out again in the places where we hold our classes, our weekly classes. They were there also with a computer. And this, opened up the opportunity to have people like, Eric Tate from Penguin Magic. We got a class from him. So that's something that was unheard of for us to have, a class from somebody from Penguin, that was going to be with us for a full hour, sharing stuff with us. It was a great way to use this Google Meet, and the pandemic allowed us to do this. Here we have kids that are in homes in the slums of Bogota, in Aguachapan, in Tirraces, Costa Rica, and Eric, who is in Ohio, in New York. So I know it was wonderful. This is also another teacher. He's Jorge Ruiz. He's from Colombia. He was here at the beginning of the broadcast, but he is in Russia. So all the way from Russia, he could connect, and we got a class with him. So I think it's something that, on a very weird way, is something that we could make or say thank you to 2020 for allowing us, in the midst of a pandemic, to have that kind of opportunity.
absolutely. Yeah.
And you know, as you said, the year taught us what's important and what really matters and how to navigate uncertainty. And I really want to end with this, because as we got better performing, we ended up making a very good virtual show. Like so good that this story I'm very excited to tell, because back in 2016, when we went with a bunch of kids, 6 kids from the slums of Bogota to New York. I remember we were walking downtown New York in Manhattan, and one of the kids just pointed to a building and said, "Hey kids, look, that's where Google is," right? And it was very interesting because, you know, they were pointing at a Google office in Manhattan. We were walking by it, and they're like, "Oh, that's the logo that we used to search stuff." And you know, they made me take that picture, and that was in 2016. But as I was saying, you know, in this pandemic, we tailored the show for this, you know, virtual era, and we were able to perform that show for a Google audience, meaning Google hired us multiple times to perform for their employees. So I mean, this is unreal. It feels kind of magical just saying it out loud, you know, that a company like Google chose us for entertainment of the remote teams. So we were able to entertain teams from 9 people all the way to 200 and something in different parts of the world. And, you know, kids in the slums of Bogota, they were performing for people in Asia. They were performing for people in Singapore, in Australia, in New Zealand, in Japan. You know, they were performing for people in the UK, in Ireland, in the United States. It was amazing, and they were able to provide for their families during this pandemic because of these virtual shows.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's amazing that something as unpredictable, as uncertain as this pandemic, where the kids' families lost their jobs, their situation was extreme, and having something like magic be there as a tool for you to, you know, generate a income in this environment. I don't know, it was wonderful to witness.
Yeah.
It was just wonderful to witness.
I'm thinking, you know, as you say, you know, we did shows for people in Singapore and Germany and New Zealand, Australia, UK, US, all those places. That's truly like magicians without borders, you know, like the virtual world is without borders. I mean, we would do shows at midnight for people in Asia and 6 o'clock in the morning for people in Germany and Poland. And it was really wild. It was, and the kids were so beside themselves that they were performing for this organization, and they wanted to take screenshots with them after every show. You know, it was great. And there were like, well, how many shows? 13 shows?
Yeah, we did 15 for them. Yeah,
15. Amazing. Yeah,
it was amazing. So,
what a great way to end the year. You know, doing all those holiday parties for Google all around the world. Amazing.
Yeah, I think, you know, and of course we mentioned Google because it's, you know, one of the highlights, and that story of you know, having that that picture with us. But it's been, there's been so many more, of course, and you can definitely check this out in this website, in corporate.magicianswithoutborders.com. You can see that we perform for a lot of companies. We perform for Waymo, we perform for YouTube, we perform for the East Side Institute, we perform for big companies here in Colombia like Ecopetrol, the biggest petrol company here. So it was just amazing to see how, you know, the borders got blurred or are getting blurred by this, you know, technology. So it was wonderful to see that we can, get our magic out there and our kids' magic out there in a virtual way that has, some repercussion in their lives, like an important repercussion in their life.
Well, so much of it was your doing. Director of global programs has taken on a whole new meaning, Carlos. I'm so grateful to all the work, wonderful work you do for Magicians Without Borders, and especially for these young magicians. I'm sure their lives are so much richer because of you and the work you do. It's great. Thank you.
I do it with a bunch of love, and I'll continue to do it. And I don't know, do we dare answer this?
Plan.
Do we dare say that we want to plan something for next year? If we don't know what that's gonna bring.
Let's meet next Wednesday and talk about it. We can plan maybe that far ahead, maybe.
I know. So everyone, thank you for joining us. This has been an amazing experience through 2020. Very challenging year that ended up being very fruitful for our programs and our kids, and that we hope that we can continue to grow thanks to your support. So as always, we say if you want to support the work we do, you can always consider us for a donation. You could do it for the year's end, or you could do it any time of the year. But if you want to help this purpose of using magic to create a just world full of possibilities in communities around the planet, this is the place to do it. This is the moment to do it. With your support, we are actually helping kids in the slums of South America perform for global companies, and they're earning income with that. But all the work that's behind it, we have to train them. We've been together with them for years. We've been together with some of these kids from, in Colombia since 2012, in Salvador from 2008. And we keep on developing them, but we do it because of you and thanks to you. So if you're considering to giving a gift, please consider donating to Magicians Without Borders and the work that we do.
Thank you very much. And once again, may all of you and may Magicians Without Borders have a healthy, happy, successful, wonderful 2021.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.